Hello, everybody. Good morning. So if you want to go ahead and find a seat, we're going to get started up. So great to see so many of you. Great to see you in person after seeing you over Zoom a couple of weeks ago. My name is Brandon Lanners. I'm with the Office of Global Learning. I'll say a bit more in a couple of minutes. But maybe one quick question. How did casino night go last night? Went well, thumbs up. So great. It was, oh, I like those thumbs down to people. I wonder what that was all about. Maybe didn't go so well for you. I apologize. I do hear though that, getting over jet lag and cross-cultural interaction is easier while gambling. So that is some of the, research that went into having that be the first thing that you do together in person. So just wanted to let you know. Before we get started, I just want to say one quick reminder to everyone. You'll see there's some large, somewhat scary signs around us saying no food, drinks, or water in auditorium. I saw you. No. If you do need to get some water, that's totally fine. I ask that you just go walk outside really quick and take a swig and come back just so we don't get in trouble. So thanks, everybody. So I would like to introduce our first speaker of the day. Wendy Wolford is our Vice Provost for International Affairs here at Cornell and is also the Robert A. and Ruth E. Paulson Professor of Global Development. Wendy.
Can you hear me? Yes. You've already learned the first thing you need to know about education at Cornell or in the United States, which is never sit within 6 rows of the professor. I don't know, apparently we spit a lot or it's scary because we could call on anybody and you didn't know you were going to be in the front row, did you? Everyone sat behind you. Well, my name is Wendy, as Brandon said, although I saw that he had to look down at his sheet to, get any of my information. I'm the Vice Provost of International Affairs and also a faculty member. So I teach. I don't teach as much as I used to, but having the students come back into town after a summer of relative peace and quiet is one of the best times of the year. And in spring, when you all leave, you would not think that we would say how exciting it will be to have everyone back, but it really is fun to see all the new faces, to see everyone returning, everyone filling up the parking, but also getting back into the routine of campus. So it's exciting to have you here. Welcome to Cornell, which I know many of you have been working towards for a long time. You're going to get a lot of information in this week. You'll get information at the International Student Orientation and then in your college and department orientations, and you'll probably remember about 4% of it. I would. So many of it will be repeated, and I hope that you know that all of this information you can get if you just email us. This office here, the Office of International Affairs with the Office of Global Learning and International Services, we're all here for you. We work with the students who come in internationally, and we work with students who go out internationally. We work with faculty as well, but of course the bulk of it is with students. So if you have any questions, if you forget what you learned and you want to know any of this information again, then just reach out. We're also here for not just the technical details, but also for you as a community. So we hope that we will continue to be organizing events, clubs, working with the international student leaders, etc. So reach out anytime. On behalf of the university, I want to say welcome to Cornell, welcome to Ithaca. It's a beautiful day outside, and I hope you know it's always like this. We always have sunshine and it's always warm. So don't worry, I'm sure you won't need the moon boots. Actually, I had a colleague from Brazil when I was an undergraduate, and she didn't bring any cold weather clothes. We were in Massachusetts, so we had to lend her things, and we lent her the boots that were really popular. This was way back in the dark ages. The boots that were popular then were moon boots, which are huge and like padded comforters that you wear on your feet, not fashionable at all. And this poor woman, you know, who was very fashionable, Brazilian, not used to the snow, the torment of having to put those boots on to walk out in the snow. I think that was worse than the cold. But no, really, I know that Ithaca is fairly rural and we call it centrally isolated because it's far from everywhere. No, we don't call it centrally isolated because it's far from nowhere. We call it because we're in the middle of a whole bunch of great cities that I hope you get to visit at some point. But it is pretty rural, and I know that the odds are that most of you came from a much more urban location. But Ithaca really is gorgeous. It is full of waterfalls, as you probably know already, but hiking trails. You'll get Cornell calves. Have you heard that expression? That comes from having to hike up hills often, and usually, you know, because it's cold, you wait till the last minute, so you're running up hills a lot. So you get these good calves. That's a benefit. But I hope that you'll explore campus. There's something called the Johnson Museum, and it's full of fantastic art from all over, but it also has on the 5th floor a whole round of windows so that you get to see all of the lake and downtown Ithaca and then campus. It's really gorgeous. So if you have anybody visit, you'll get points as the best host ever if you take them to the 5th floor of the Johnson Museum. Ice cream, there's no good pizza here. People try to tell you there's good pizza, they're lying. But hopefully you'll get out and explore. I know that being international students, you have a set of challenges to get to Ithaca, quite literally, in terms of the immigration issues, in terms of the multiple flights. But there are also things that make being an international student different in some ways than being a domestic student. So you'll have many different identities while you're here. You'll have your department, your athletic teams, if you're part of an athletic team. But one of the things that does connect you all is being an international student. And that does come with great opportunities. You get to learn about each other. You get to learn this, what might not be a new place for some of you, because many of you have spent high school or a lot of time in the US, but you get to learn a new environment. And that's an exciting opportunity, but it also comes with some challenges. Of course, the immigration issues are one of those, but also just having to sometimes put up with your counterparts who might say things like, where is your country? Or, you know, I was an international student, and are there any Canadians here? Canadians. So it was fantastic. I went to McGill. I loved it. I didn't really have a language issue. I didn't speak French, but English was the formal language of McGill University at the time. But I was made fun of mercilessly. I mean, I sort of stood in for all Americans, and, you know, there was a lot of making fun of Americans. So you do sometimes feel like you have to defend your country if that's what you want to do. I felt like I had to do more defending of the US than I had ever thought about before. It was really interesting. So there are challenges, but I hope that you find solidarity among each other. I was talking to a couple of the people who went through this last year, and they said that they made some of their best friends at Prepare, and the International Students Union and then other regional associations are really strong. And I hope that that might also be an identity and a home that you're part of. It is a really wonderful place here, and we're so glad you're here. I said it was a little bit rural, but we're a very cosmopolitan campus. About 25% of our students are international. That's including undergraduates and graduate students. So you'll hear languages and you'll see people from over 115 countries. So it might feel like it's far away, but it's very much here, a place where many different cultures and many people meet. And we're thrilled to have you here. I told this story at one of the send-offs this summer, and so I apologize for those who've heard it before, but I was at dinner with an alum from India in June, and he told me the story about how, so his father started one of the biggest tech companies, I won't say the name because then you'll know who I'm talking about, around. And when he came here, he was in computer science. He was going to take some engineering classes, and he expected to just double down and just take engineering and computer science. And that's what his parents expected him to do. When he came, he realized that he had to take a set of liberal arts, diversity requirements. So some political science, some economics, some cultural sort of world cultures kind of classes. And he went to his first one, I think it was his second semester, and he was probably obnoxious during the class itself. And then afterwards, he went to go talk to the professor and he said, "This is ridiculous. Why do I have to take this class? I'm here to learn computer science. I need to be focusing on this." And she talked to him and they talked. She asked him about where he was from, what he'd learned already. They got to talking and they completely hit it off. And she convinced him that it was going to help him in his studies. It was going to help him in life. It was going to help him in his major. It was going to help him understand better how to think about what he was learning to take this diversity of classes. So he remembers those classes, the ones that didn't necessarily fit in with his major, as being some of his most valuable experiences and educational opportunities here on campus. He's still very much in touch. He calls her his godmother. I think that the lesson there is just that you will learn so much in your classes, but you'll learn possibly as much and sometimes more from your colleagues, from your faculty outside of class, and from doing things that aren't necessarily exactly what you intended to do when you came. So explore and welcome. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Wendy. Everyone, thank you so much for being here with us. I want to take a couple of moments to say a few things and just provide thanks to a few people before we get moving. First to Lauren. Is Lauren here in the room? She might be outside running things. So Lauren Gabuzzi is really the person that has been behind putting all of this together. So just a quick round of applause for Lauren so she can hear it. Mm-hmm. Also for Scott Beamer. Scott. Thank you, Scott. Scott has been helping us manage all of the technology in this great system as well that allows us to have the transcriptions going. Hey, there's Lauren. Hey, Lauren. Thank you. And also just quickly to all the staff from the Office of Global Learning, Cornell Housing and Dining, all of the speakers that you're going to get to know today and over the next few days, and the other people that have been supportive to all of our activities, and to our volunteer mentors who are we going to meet in just a moment. Round of applause to all those folks. Thank you. So I just want to walk quickly through the agenda for today. We have a couple of things lined up. We're going to get to know again our mentors. We're going to hear about immigration and some key pieces that you need to have in mind. We're going to talk about academic integrity at Cornell. We're going to hear from our Einaudi Center for International Studies, from the Career Services Office, and then the International Students Union, who Wendy had mentioned. We're going to then have lunch with our mentors. Then we're going to do a scavenger hunt around campus. We'll have dinner and then sports and games night. And for those of you that want to do more gambling, I'm sure we can set that up. So what I would like to do now is ask our volunteers to come on up. Volunteer mentors, come on down. We had them wear red shirts so they couldn't be shy and hide in the back. Okay. All right, everybody. So come on up, get in a line. Okay, so we've already kind of had a chance to get to know each other. We had time online together a couple of weeks ago. We were doing things yesterday. But we thought a really good way to get to know all of you is to see your best dance move one by one. So who would like, no, just kidding. Come on. By the end of Tuesday over at Taganic Waterfalls, they're going to be dancing, but we'll give them time to warm up. No, what we're going to have you do, don't worry. We're going to have you just quickly, because we don't have a lot of time. I'm going to pass the mic all the way down. So one by one, you're going to tell us what's your name, what you study, where you are from, and either a fun fact about yourself or a guilty pleasure. Okay, so my name is Brandon. Excuse me. My name is Brandon Lanners. I'm losing my voice, but I studied psychology and political science. I am from Chicago, Illinois, and a guilty pleasure is actually Chicago deep dish pizza. I went back home for a couple of days a few weeks ago, and I ate it every day for breakfast. So that kind of thing. So, help us get to know who you are. Would you like to start? So name, what you study, where you're from, and one of those two questions.
My name is Advika. I'm from Bahrain. I am studying computer science in the College of Engineering. A fun fact about me is I did Bharatanatyam, which is Indian dance, for like 10 years. So if I did have to dance, I would have crushed you guys.
Wanna show some moves?
Okay.
Hey guys, I'm Nicorel Mugirachaka. I'm from Burundi. I study global development here in CALS. My guilty pleasure is, I guess, watching comedy videos on YouTube. Yeah.
Hi, everyone. I'm James. I'm from China. I'm studying math and computer science in the College of Arts and Sciences. I'm a rising sophomore. A fun fact about me is that I haven't had breakfast for 2 months.
Hi guys, I'm Joan. I'm from China as well. I'm studying BME, which is biomedical engineering in the College of Engineering. And a fun fact about me is I self-taught how to ride unicycle, but I still don't know how to ride bicycle.
Hello, everyone. My name is Rachel. I'm also from China. I'm studying electrical and computer engineering, College of Engineering. I'm also a rising sophomore. A fun fact about me is that I have lived on 5 different dorms on campus.
Hi guys, my name is Heath. I'm from Pakistan. I'm a double major in the College of Arts and Sciences, History and Economics. I'm a sophomore. Fun fact about me, I'm a student athlete. I play varsity polo for Cornell. So I play polo, yeah.
Hi, I'm Megan. I'm from the Philippines, but I grew up in Singapore. I'm studying human development and minoring in gerontology and infectious disease. And a fun fact about me is I got stuck inside a toilet when I was 3.
Hi everyone, my name is Tomas. I'm from Argentina, but my parents are Korean. I study electrical and computer engineering. And the fun fact is that I have a turtle.
Hi everyone, my name is Akin Folami Akin, but everyone just calls me Akin because that's shorter. I'm from Nigeria. I'm actually from Osun State, Nigeria, so not Lagos. And I'm studying electrical and computer engineering. And a fun fact about me is I once broke my right arm because I was trying to recreate something I saw in WWE wrestling with my brother, who's like 4 years older than me. Yeah.
Well, hello everyone. My name is Pedro. I'm from Brazil. I'm studying chemical engineering. And a fun fact about myself is that yesterday during roulette, I saw some people stealing some chips and I didn't avoid them.
Hi everyone, my name is Xinrui and I'm also from China. I major in food science in COS, and guilty pleasure is actually yesterday, if you are in the roulette, the rules were set by me, not the actual rules.
Hi everyone, I'm Jason. I'm from China. I study economics in College of Arts and Sciences. And one fun fact about me, I like drinking orange soda. That's it.
Thank you all so much. Prepare would not be what it is without all of you. And I just want to recognize, for everyone in the room that, everyone to be here that's up on stage. We had them do training, they were participating in the virtual orientation. They could probably be sleeping in right now because school doesn't start for another week. But here they are. So again, one more round of applause. Thank you all so much. Thanks, everybody. Go ahead and we'll let you know. We're gonna, like I said, a little bit later, we're going to have lunch in your mentor groups. So you'll have a chance to talk a bit more with everyone here on stage. One thing I do want to point out before I introduce our next speaker, who's going to talk about international services, so immigration services at our office. If you noticed, Akin, where are you? Akin, could you raise your hand? So if you noticed, so Akin actually works in the Office of Global Learning and International Services. He's at our front desk, so he manages reception. And it's, not a coincidence that he has a background in, world wrestling. So just, don't get out of hand because he knows what to do. All right, let's just say that. Thanks so much, Akin. Thanks, everybody. Okay, so our next speaker is Hirsch Sisodia, who is a senior immigration advisor on the international services team at our office, the Office of Global Learning. So Hirsch, come on up and tell us about immigration. So that's
Good morning, everyone. Let's try that again. Come on. Good morning, everyone. There you go. There you go. Well, welcome to Cornell and Ithaca. And first thing I'll say, I want to echo what the welcome message that Wendy gave. And it's amazing to see so many people. For me personally, this is one of the most exciting things I like to do is get to meet new people, new faces, and get to know you all better over the years. So first thing I'll say is that make sure that you visit us often at the Office of Global Learning International Services and treat it like a home away from home. Okay, so there'll be some information I'm going to present to you, but it's not just this information that you can come and stop by and talk to us. Okay, if it's anything that you want to discuss and have a conversation, is something you can't find or you're frustrated, come talk to us. Okay, and then we can kind of work together through that process over time. Okay, so don't feel that, oh, I'm here all alone. There's no one else that can understand what's going on. Trust us, we've gone through so many students and seen so many different issues. Sometimes you'd be surprised that it's not a new issue to us. Okay, so I want to make sure that our door is open always for you to come on in and have a conversation with us. And with that, I'm going to get started with some very important things for you. And it's not going to be very long. It's going to be in brief. There we go. So there'll be three main topics that I'm going to cover, okay? And these are going to be essential for you because they're going to help you to kind of maintain your status while in the United States. With that, what I mean is being able to stay here while you're studying, okay? So the major topics are going to be maintaining your status. We'll go over those. Employment, that's going to be something either, down the line, or maybe next year you'll think about something like that. And the most exciting one, travel, right? So you're here, you'll probably want to travel outside and want to come back. So we'll cover all these three topics. Okay, so maintaining status. First thing is, what is status? Status actually means that when you entered the United States, that officer, the immigration officer, put you in that visa category that you actually have the visa for, right? So all of you, I presume, have an F1 visa, which is the student category visa. You presented that at the port of entry, and they put you in that category. They admitted you in that category because there are about 22 different visa categories. So they usually it's the same category. Okay, so this is going to cover is what do I need to do as a student to remain here and make sure that I'm doing the things that that visa category requires. Right? So the initial or transfer students, the first and foremost important thing is going to be this, that you complete the online check-in. Okay. Has anybody, if you can just quickly raise your hand, tell me if anybody's done the online check-in yet or not. Okay, great. Was it a simple process? Right? Yeah, probably just a couple of minutes, right? So make sure you do that. What that does actually is you're here, right? You were admitted. The government wants to know is, hey, we admitted the student here. Did they actually show up? Are they actually participating in what they're supposed to do? So when you do this, you're reporting and say, hey, I'm here, Hirsch, International Global Learning Services. I'm here. Here's my information, the immigration information. And that gets submitted to us. Then we push that information to your specific record in the government database. And that actually activates your status. So when you got here, your status was actually not activated. That I-20 that you got, it's not active until you go through this process. And if you don't go through this process, your I-20 actually gets canceled automatically by the system, because the system goes, well, this person didn't show, they showed up, but where are they? They may not even be here. Who knows, right? So make sure you do that. Take 5 minutes to do this. I would say if you can do it today, tomorrow, do it soon, okay? Staying enrolled full time. So as an F1 or J1 student, you are required for each semester to be enrolled full time. For you, full time is going to be 12 credits. So that means for fall, 12 credits, for spring, 12 credits, then summer is a break, okay? It's a vacation. You don't have to register full time for summer if you want to take any classes, or you don't even have to take classes at that point, okay? If there is something that feels like, oh, you know what, for some reason, maybe I hurt myself or something's going on, I'm not going to be able to enroll full time, key is going to be communication. And I'm going to push that message throughout the time, because it's a cultural thing, all of us have a different way of communicating around the world. So there's no one path to the right communication. The only thing is you have to adapt to the communication style when you go into a different environment, right? So in the US, generally speaking, if you don't say something, we assume everything is good. Otherwise, like an American, you'd be complaining or saying something. You'll learn that over time, that we will voice our opinion, right? So I would say communicate. The more you communicate, the easier it becomes to find possible solutions, especially if you communicate early. Okay, so just, I know you'll have that hesitancy to communicate, but just send it out. Even if it feels like that, oh, it's a silly question or, kind of dumb. No, just do it, because it's your status. You need to have that ownership and go, you know what? I don't think this is, something doesn't feel right. Let me just communicate. Okay. So that way we can help you through some of these problems or issues. So the other important part is don't work off campus without authorization. Okay. On campus, you don't need authorization. Off campus, it's extremely important. But let's say if you wanted to work in an internship or something like that, that you communicate with us, because it's our office that's going to authorize you to work off campus. Okay, right? So even you can look for jobs, you just can't start working. So it's not that you can't interview. Okay, so go ahead and interview, look for those jobs, but again, begin that communication, say, you know, international services, this is what the situation is, how do I proceed with getting authorization, right? Follow all policies and laws. This is very important, not just Cornell policies, but US laws. It's very, very important that you do that, okay? When in doubt, always pause. If your instinct is telling you, this doesn't seem right, even for a fleeting moment, just stop. Trust me, over the years, I've learned that because I put my foot into things that I regret many, many times going, oh, I should have listened to my instinct when it was telling me not to do something. So do that, okay? Just pause, just pay attention to things. Unfortunately, I'll tell you one thing is US laws don't accept nobody told me or I didn't know as a valid reason. Okay, so be very careful of that part. Now, these things do sound scary. Don't be scared, be alert, be aware, right? That's the key part. Be educated about what needs to be done. You're in a different culture. There's so much you're learning as it is, right? You're trying to adapt to the climate, language, way of thinking, food, right? Interactions. There's so much going on, but keep this in your mind somewhere that says, you know what? Great, because you'll make American friends. They'll say, oh, we don't need to do this. You'll think, oh, okay, yeah, this person knows. No, they're a domestic student. They've got completely different things that they tend to follow, right? So you have that added thing that you just have to remember to do that. The other part is going to be notifying us of any address changes. So let's say this semester you're in one address, you're going to be staying either on campus or like all on campus dorm or so. Next semester, you may change that address where you're living. Make sure you just fill out a form on our website and update that. It's a simple thing. Again, a lot of things that I'm saying, only a minute to maybe at the 5 minutes at the tops is what it tends to take. But what happens is people take the easiest thing they think that, oh, I'll come back to it later. And then it goes out of mind because other important things come through and then you completely forget. And then you hit the panic button, So take the easy stuff first, right? We were talking about this maintaining status as continuation, right? Keeping your passport valid. What that means is making sure that your passport doesn't expire. Most of you probably have either a 5 or a 10-year passport. Just take a moment, take a look at the expiration year. You don't even have to know the exact date. Just say, oh, you know what? Maybe it's going to expire in 3 years. You just have to remember to get it updated, get a new renewal one. If it gets lost, right? We do have everything that I'm talking about. All this information is on our website. So we were talking about having to remember all this. You don't need to remember everything. You just need to know where to go get it. That's all. Okay. So if your passport gets lost or something like that, talk to us. We'll kind of guide you through what needs to be done. If you put your passport and you accidentally leave it in your pockets and that gets laundered, right? Go through the laundry machine. Usually passports are really good. They'll survive a lot of abuse. But if it gets mutilated, again, you need to get a new passport, right? Again, just communicate to us and we'll kind of help you with that. Now, this is not necessarily applicable now. The other one is applying for an extension. What does that mean? Let's say you're here for 4 years, right? And for some reason, you need to be here for a little bit longer, right? To complete your academics. Again, you'll need to have that I-20 that you have right now. It's got a start date and an end date. That end date just needs to be extended to make sure you need that additional time to finish your degree. What are you going to do? What do you think you'll do? Communicate, yes. So just talk to us, email us and say, this is what's happening. Generally, what will happen is the last semester, what will happen is you'll start getting these automated emails that say, hey, your program is ending. Make sure you do this. Okay? So look out for those emails. There'll be regular communication. If there's something that is affecting your status that we see, we'll definitely reach out by email and communicate and say, okay, here's the situation. All you have to do is just follow those instructions and reach out. Right? If you plan on transferring, well, I'm hoping you won't transfer the next 4 years, you'll be here. But for some reason, if, either during your time here or after your program, you want to transfer to another institution, let's say you want to get your graduate degree in another institution, contact us because we need to transfer your immigration record to that school. Then that school is going to give you a new I-20 for that program. Okay. So one institution, only one institution at a time can have access to your information. Okay. Complete all reporting requirements. So this is something, this one you don't have to focus on right now. This is going to be after you're done graduating and you're working and you've got this optional practical training, these employment authorization by the government. There'll be some reporting requirements. Just be kind of aware that you may have to, report that stuff. But here it is, the last one again. Contact the Global Learning Immigration Services for any questions, right? So Global Learning is kind of, Brandon is the executive director, and under him, there are two offices. One is the Education Abroad, and one is the International Services. Okay, so International Services, one takes care of incoming international students. So you can always contact us. And again, at the bottom of these slides, you'll always see where that source, this information is coming from. Employment. So I started out, I kind of touched that briefly about off campus, but so there's a way that on campus you can work. And it does not require any authorization from our office. Okay, so when you're studying this fall semester, if you find an on-campus job, whether it's a library, a cafeteria, or working for a professor on campus, you can do that automatically. You don't need any special permission for that. And you can do it for up to 20 hours per week. Now, when there's a break, let's say there'll be a winter break, you're not registered for winter break, you could work more than 20 hours at that point. I think we've got a month-long break, so you could do more than that, okay? So on campus, nothing special, especially for F1 student. Is there a J1 student here? Visa categories, I just want to make sure. Okay, all right, so for F1, all of you, since all of you are F1s, no special information is authorizations needed. Off-campus employment, this is what I was talking about. So there are two types for F1 students. There are two types of off-campus authorization employment options. Then they're called practical training. Okay. One is the curricular practical training, or you'll get to, Chancellor, you're going to hear more acronyms than you ever thought. Okay, we love acronyms in this place here. So CPT, you'll get to hear about that. The other part is optional practical training, or OPT. Okay, and I'll cover these a little bit right now. The key part is for all of these practical trainings, this is that off-campus employment. The government is saying, sure, you can work off campus, but it has to be directly in your field of study. Why? The key lies in that practical training, right? The government wants you to get that experience of what you're studying and now going out there and applying that study, so it strengthens your understanding of your field. Okay, so that's a key component of that. And again, that's the last one that's in bold here, must have authorization to work off campus. Okay, that's a very important thing. Why? Because it does impact your immigration status. As soon as you start working off campus, what the government is saying is basically you violated your visa requirements now. So this is one of those things that's very serious. You just be careful of that part. So CPT, curricular practical training, essentially it's possible for you to get an internship after having been here for 2 full semesters. So as an example, you're here fall, you'll be enrolled full-time. Spring, you'll be enrolled full-time. For next summer, you could look for an internship that's in your field to work over summer, right? So that's that 2-semester enrollment and physical presence. So if we were still doing this remotely, this wouldn't work, right? So this is with the physical presence. And one of the key components is that checking in part that I was going. See how everything gets tied into that starting from that location, right? So the authorization has to be, again, it's a continuing registered student, which you will be. And if you don't register, trust me, you'll get an email that says you're not registered. And usually it tends to be from me. I'm the kind of the bad guy, this type of things, unfortunately. But the key becomes is just reaching out. So I can say, hey, you know, you got all these options, do this, right? This is the key part about CPT is only while you're studying. So it's related to that curricular practice. As long as you have a curriculum going on, you can participate in practical training, okay? Usually for summer, for most people who tend to apply for summer, it's usually full-time, okay? They get full-time internships, they apply for this stuff, and then they go work for those. Sometimes you can work part-time while you're studying, but having met that two semester requirement. So it's possible. It's not that you can only do internship during summer. You could do it during a normal semester as well, a fall or spring. Okay? The application is fairly easy. What becomes difficult or becomes more challenging is when students skip steps. They just click on apply instead of having read that, okay, before you apply, you need to make sure you have all these things. That makes it difficult. But if you follow the information sequentially, it's a pretty easy application. I'm usually, when I see those things, I'm like, okay, let's hope this is there so I can just go ahead and approve. Trust me, I'm waiting for the approval so it can just move on and go, yes, this is a pretty easy thing. And I want you to go ahead and get that experience. It's going to be very important. So again, we're the only office that can give you this permission to work off campus. And it shows up on your I-20. Okay, so let's say you apply for a CPT, you want to go work for Microsoft, fine. You'll have Microsoft listed on that I-20, you'll have a start date, end date, and now you know I can go work for Microsoft. Okay. The other component is optional practical training, or OPT. And this is, again, has that 2-semester requirement, but this begins after your education is finished. So after your degree, you can have this authorization. And this tends to be at least for 1 year. So at least for 12 months. And some of you who might be in a STEM major could get an additional extension to work for another 2 years. So it could be up to 3 years. But you start applying for this in your last semester. Again, this is that thing I was talking about, communication. You'll start seeing communication about this stuff in the semesters. Okay, so it's not like you have to remember, you just have to see, oh, I see a communication from international service. Let me just see what is that about. That's going to be the key. This authorization is not from our office. It's actually from the government. And it's a specific branch of the government, the U.S. Citizenship and Immigration Services. Okay, they're the ones who will send you the authorizations. It's a card, employment card that you get, as opposed to just being on your I-20. Again, I kind of touched that. The STEM majors get an additional 24 months. This is something, put it back in your brain. You don't need to worry about this for quite a few years right now. Okay. This is an important one right here, travel. More so because it's not just traveling within the United States, but let's say you're here, you're going to enjoy the warm weather of Ithaca so much, particularly the warm winters that we have, that you may say, you know, let me go outside of Ithaca, outside the US, and maybe I want to see my family again, or go somewhere even more warmer, you know, maybe to Costa Rica or somewhere like that. And then I want to now come back. What do I need? Okay, this is kind of that stuff that you'll need. Majority of the stuff is the same thing. Passport, valid visa, I-20. The I-20 page 2, if you look at that, you should have a travel signature already. And that's valid for 1 year from that date that was signed. It'll be signed by one of us from the office. Okay. If it's about to, you know, it looks like it's going to expire by the time you want to get back into the US, just request another one online. A lot of this stuff now can be done online. So you all receive that I-20 digitally, right? So this is going forward, that's permanent. Now the government has made that permanent. I don't have to send you a physical copy. Okay, so you can just go online, request a reprint of an I-20 for travel purposes. We send it to you digitally, you just print it out and carry that. Okay. Proof of financial support, it's not required, but it's a good idea to carry that. Sometimes an officer may want to see, it's like, oh, you're being funded by the school or your parents or whoever. Do you have the financial means? Can you have that document? So kind of keep that. You don't necessarily need it. Most of the time, they're not going to ask you. That's usually initially first time when you enter. And some of this stuff is required, but some of this stuff is actually up to at that discretion of that immigration officer. They're the final authority who decide who gets in and who doesn't. Not the US Embassy. They just grant you that visa that says show up. You're okay to show up to the port of entry now, right? So make sure you don't have to carry that, but it's good thing to carry. Proof of enrollment. I'll definitely say yes, you should carry this. Why? Because you're making a claim that's yes, I'm maintaining status. Yes, I enrolled. What's your proof, right? If you're going to make a claim, make sure you've got a proof of that. Okay. So carry that, and you can get this generally from the registrar's website. Once you register, it'll have that information for you. You just electronically download that. The other part is, as of right now at least, you do need to make sure that you carry proof of vaccination. Okay. You don't need to have the latest, that 24 hours proof anymore per the CDC, at least to enter the United States, but you do need to have proof of vaccination. Right? So far, I'm trying to keep it as simple as possible. I know it's a lot of information, okay? But the key is where you go get that, all right? If you remember nothing else, just remember, I got to contact Global Learnings, international services, right? But do visit that website. It's very extensive, a lot of information. So you don't have to wait for me or anybody to get back to you. Let's say you send an email or leave us a voicemail. You don't have to wait for that. A lot of it you can get right away. This is the way to contact us. Monday through Friday, in the mornings, 8:30 to noon, in the afternoons, from 1 to 4:30. You can reach us by phone, email. You can also have a Zoom appointment. You can schedule a Zoom appointment as well. Okay. All right. And if you've got something like a quick, oh, I want to get a travel signature show, you can come in also. Right. So in the Zoom appointment, actually, you'll have options. You could do it online or you could come in for that appointment. Okay. But you just make an appointment. That's the key part. Okay. And then just reach out. I think that's going to be the key part. And what I'll tell you is leave you with this is when in your life are you going to meet so many people from so many different places? Okay, so take advantage of that. Learning is not going to happen just in your classroom. Your growth is not going to be just in your classroom. In fact, a lot of it is going to happen when you interact with people who are so different from you. It'll give you an insight into yourself as well. Okay. I've probably met, probably 100,000 students in the time that I've been doing this in definitely over 100 countries. Okay, now some of my students have become my best friends over the years. And they've given me an introspection into who I am and how I view the world. So allow yourself to be immersed in that type of an environment. A great fall, okay? Welcome. So if anybody has a burning question in the exciting presentation of the immigration world, I'm happy to take a couple of questions. If you've got a just general question, I can just raise your hand and say that. Yep. Yes. Yes. That's an excellent question. Yep. So the question was that it's about CPT, curricular practical training. And he's saying that I'd say that it has to be related, directly related to your major. What if I have not declared a major? Am I ineligible? Fortunately, the answer is yes, right? Because the government wants to know is, well, what is this guy's major, right? If there's no declared major, well, there's nothing for you to be actually gain in a practical training. Okay, there might be a curriculum components happening right now, but there's no practical training that can be linked to a major. But yes, that's a great question. Okay. So the question is, essentially, if my visa is expiring tomorrow, do I need to pay the CVIS fee again to renew? And I'm putting this in quotes because government says there's no renewal of visa. That's just a regular, like you and I use that word. The government says, no, it's a new visa application every time. CVIS fee, you don't have to pay. And I'll tell you what that CVIS fee is. One, the acronym is Student and Exchange Visitor Information System. That's the database that has your I-20 record. That's the one we can interact with and issue you the I-20, give you that CPT authorization so it shows up. And that fee is actually connected to that particular number. So you'll see that CVIS number starts with the letter N. It's connected to that number. As long as you have that number, even if you were to go to 5 different institutions, as long as they keep transferring that record, there's that continuity. So you don't have to pay that fee. You will have to pay the application fee for the new visa and all that stuff. Yes. No, so remember, I-20 is not a proof that you're enrolled. I-20 is a proof that you've been admitted into a program at an institution that is authorized by the government to allow international students to come in. Okay? Not every institution has this authority. Or there are schools, majority do. The well-known schools definitely have this. There are certain smaller schools, private schools, they may not have that for that permission. Well, that's that certificate of registration, okay? Registration certificate, and you can get that from the registrar's website, right? There'll be, I think, I have to kind of do a visual. I think there'll be enrollment services under registrar's website, and then when you drop, that thing drops down, there'll be an option to get a transcript or enrollment certificate, and you can just log in with your net ID and password and get that. It's pretty much instant because it'll be in the system as it is that you're registered. Yes. Yes. So what the question was that let's say I'm here for a year and now I want to go study in Europe, right? Am I understanding that correctly? Yeah. So what he's talking about is study abroad. Okay. In this case, technically it's abroad. So you're already abroad. Now you want to go abroad again. So yes, there's actually, that's the other branch. Okay. Study abroad office does have that. They will kind of help guide you. What are the requirements to do that? What kind of courses can you take that can be applied back to your degree here, right? Those transfer credits, okay? Or do you need to be enrolled here and then there's a connection with another institution abroad that can take you there. Okay, so they'll guide you through. Entry documents into the United States are going to be the same, right? Just entry into that country, I don't know about, but it'll be the education abroad office that you can contact. Okay, maybe, right. So we'll take last question. I saw somebody's hand raised back there. Yes. So the question was, if I get an on-campus job, when do I complete the I-9 form and get a social security number? First of all, what's an I-9? I-9 form is another government form. It's the employment eligibility form that you fill out when you start working with your employer. So it'll be departmental, okay? So let's say you're working in the library, they'll say, yes, come in a day before and start filling out this paperwork, okay? Or it'll be somebody will say, you know, the first day of your job, you'll start working, we'll have you complete this form. So there's no standard as far as that. But does it need to be filled out? Yes, that's the important part. It does need to be filled out because they're verifying that this person has eligibility to work in the United States, okay? What happens is when you get that formal approval or a formal letter that says, yes, you can start working for my department, let's say, for an example, if you wanted to work for international services, you know, we'll provide a letter that says, yes, this person is working, okay? Let's say if you're working for the library, they'll do the same thing. There'll be proof that you're working on campus. You will use that proof, you go to our website and request a letter from our office that doubles that proof. Because we're checking also and saying, okay, yes, this student has the permission and to work on campus, so please grant him a social security number. That number actually is with you for life. Once you apply for it, even if you were to leave the US and come back 20 years later, that number still stays with you, okay? So you don't have to keep reapplying for that. But that is all related to benefits and taxation and all that. So that number, and a lot of times when you're applying for credit cards and all these things, they ask for that number, right? So you start with getting on-campus job. I would say just communicate with us. We'll just tell you, hey, go online here, fill out this quick, easy form, and you can come pick up the letter, right? And then the process, just walk through that process. Okay. All right. Once again, have a great time. Enjoy the first. Fall is going to be wonderful. Winter is even more beautiful. Trust me, you will enjoy it. Take care.
Thank you so much, Hirsch. Thank you. Appreciate it. Great, everybody. So one thing I know that some of our, at least one friend is here from Canada. I found it's been interesting. So I'm from Chicago, where it's actually colder and because it's windier and it's a lot less pretty in the winter. Then I moved to Texas for a couple of years and it was so hot that now that I'm back here in Ithaca, I realized how much I love the winter, but I actually put Montreal and Quebec City on the weather thing on my phone so I can see how much colder it is there and how jealous I am of them actually. And I don't know, I've learned to love winters by living in Ithaca. So let's talk after 4 years or 2 and we'll see how things stand with you. We are going to actually jump one presentation. So give me just a moment while I move through some slides really quickly on academic integrity. We're going to be talking about that shortly. But our next presentation is going to be given by Rick Lee, Manager of Academic Engagement Programs at the Einaudi Center for International Studies. Everyone welcome Rick.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to Cornell. I hope you all enjoying your time so far. My name is Rick Lee, and I'm here representing the Mario Einaudi for International Studies, and I send greetings from our faculty director, Dr. Rachel Beatty-Riedel. So the Einaudi Center is composed of 8 regional and thematic programs. We're sort of the one-stop shop for everything international in terms of your global engagement and research and learning. So the 8 thematic programs and regional studies programs include, and I'll do this alphabetically, the Contemporary Muslim Societies Program, which builds across disciplines and borders for better understanding of Muslim cultures and societies. And the faculty and students specialize in history, politics, gender studies, anthropology, and art history. The East Asia program is Cornell's focal point for research, teaching, and engagement with East Asia. And it also hosts a hub of campus-wide network of specialists and is a forum for interdisciplinary study of both contemporary and historical East Asia. And that's really, really very important. We do a lot of programming focused on the contemporary moment as well. The Institute for African Development is an interdisciplinary nucleus for the study of Africa with the overarching goal of strengthening and expanding the depth and breadth of African development studies. The Institute for European Studies promotes learning and teaching about European languages and cultures by placing Europe in a global context and contributing to the training of a new generation of global citizens. We also have the Latin American and Caribbean Studies program, which involves teaching and research across the humanities, the sciences, and the social sciences. And the Latin American Caribbean Studies program expands the intellectual presence of Latin America and the Caribbean at Cornell by organizing campus events to bring together faculty and students. We also have what's called the REPI Institute for Peace and Conflict Studies, which is devoted to the research and teaching on the problems of war and peace, arms control and disarmament, and more generally, instances of collective violence. Finally, 2 programs. One is the South Asia program, which is a hub for Cornell students, faculty, staff, and is focused on South Asia, India, and the subcontinent. Finally, we have the Southeast Asia program, which was founded in 1950 to promote the acquisition and dissemination of knowledge about countries, cultures, and languages of the region. Cornell is one of the world's greatest concentrations of expertise on Southeast Asia. So just a show of hands from here, how many of you are here from anywhere in East Asia? Raise your hands. Great. I see someone going like this. How about anyone from the African continent? Welcome. Europe. Excellent. Make some noise. Let's try this again. Who here is from anywhere in East Asia? All right. The continent of Africa. I'm not hearing you. Try it again. Great, thank you. And Europe. All right, how about Latin America and Caribbean? Yes, there we go. South Asia? Excellent. And Southeast Asia? Great, welcome. So we also, in addition to our thematic and regional studies programs, we also have 3 thematic areas, research priorities. One is called Inequalities, Identities, and Justice. And what we do is we bring together faculty, students, and the campus community to identify and understand oppression, to study the policies, systems, and institutions that perpetuate inequality and violence, and to engage to create a more just world. We also have the Migrations Initiative, which is committed to the study of populations on the move and to furthering our global understandings of multi-species migration through interdisciplinary perspectives. And finally, we also have Democratic Threats and Resilience. And this group really is to study and monitor evolving democratic norms and threats to democracy in the US and around the world. So these 3 thematic programs works with the 8 regional and area studies programs as well. So we really are kind of a one-stop shop, as I mentioned earlier. And what's really important for all of you to consider as well, we invite you to think about our academic minors. The Einaudi Center offers 2 specific minors, which is the International Relations minor and the Migration Studies minor. So in the International Relations minor, you will study the politics, economics, history, and cultures of the world and gain a fresh perspective on your major field of study. And the minor is open to all Cornell undergraduates and includes courses from across the university. We also have the Migration Studies minor, where you'll explore the factors that influence migrants' decisions to migrate and drive their departure, arrival, and integration into new societies. And again, this is also open to all Cornell undergraduates and includes courses from across the university. Now, we also have additional minors that are offered through the various programs and departments, including East Asian Studies, European Studies, Latin American Studies, South Asian Studies, and Southeast Asian Studies. So I would really strongly encourage you, if you haven't already done so, to really explore these minors, to really expand the studies while you're here at Cornell. Talk a little bit about the undergraduate funding opportunities that we have, and I want to highlight two specific programs for you. We do have what's called the Global Summer Internships, and these internships connect you with faculty who are conducting international research, and also with our global partners in our regional programs. So here you'll meet mentors and colleagues working in the international arena and use your real-world skills and languages. So it's really a great time for you, although Ithaca is very, very beautiful. At some point, you may want to do a summer internship elsewhere. And I also want to encourage you to think about the Laidlaw Scholars Program. And this is a leadership and research program. It's a 2-year program. And we're really looking for students who are really globally engaged and ethical leaders. And as a Laidlaw Scholar, you will conduct research in the first summer and participate in leadership in action in the second summer, which is a kind of an abroad program. And throughout the program, you'll also be developing leaderships as well. And this is eligible for first and second year students. So please start thinking about this in this coming semester as well. In addition to our opportunities, we also host signature events, including the Bartels World Affairs Lecture, where we bring distinguished international figures to campus every year to speak on global topics. And this past spring, we had Nobel Peace Laureate Lema Bowie, who visited Cornell in April, and she delivered a lecture entitled Forging Lasting Peace, Movements for Justice in a Pluralistic World. In addition to the Bartels Lecture, we also have the Lund Critical Debate, and that brings to campus international affairs professionals to engage with pressing concerns in world news and policy. And last year, we hosted an event on migration and pandemics, and that featured Deputy Director of the World Health Organization, Dr. Shoshana Jacob, as well as US Senator Bob Menendez. I want to encourage you to join us on August the 31st at Uris Hall for our international fair. Well, you'll learn a little bit more about all of these programs, meet our colleagues, meet other students as well, and learn about all the different opportunities. And it'll be on August 31st from 11 to 1 at Uris Hall Terrace. Does anyone know where Uris Hall is yet? Someone already raised their hand. That's great. So Uris Hall is where the Einaudi Center is. So please, please, please memorize that address. Please come visit us any time of the year. Any questions so far? I see someone taking the QR code. That's a good idea. You guys want to scan that. August 31st, 11 to 1. You'll learn about all these opportunities. I'm going to end here with, if this works, a video from our director.
What are you passionate about?
Migration, climate change, and international relations.
Preserving my cultural traditions and values.
What do you want to learn?
African development, healthcare,
nuclear disarmament.
I think if you reflect on these, there are numerous resources at the university to help you in that pursuit. For me, that was the Einaudi Center, a place to grow both academically, professionally, and personally. No matter what part of the world you might be interested in, whether that be traveling there, whether that means studying it, whether it means just talking to academics who know more about it. The Einaudi Center has it for you.
Hello, I'm Rachel Beatty-Riedel, the director of the Mario Einaudi Center for International Studies. When I was in college, I was fortunate to have studied abroad in Senegal, where I learned many invaluable lessons from the people there. It was life-changing, and that's what I'd like the Einaudi Center to be for you. 8 regional and thematic programs are the heart of the Einaudi Center. Our programs promote new ways of understanding people and places around the world. We offer academic minors related to those area studies, as well as minors exploring migrations, peace and conflict studies, and international relations. Our multidisciplinary approach is facilitated by thought leaders and experts across a wide range of fields. We have 350 faculty who participate in seminars, lectures, mentoring, and research.
The Einaudi Center is one of those places where there are so many opportunities to get funding, to engage with scholars, not only in your own academic and intellectual world, but also in other intellectual spheres, which, at least in my experience, has helped shape the scholar that I've become.
So when I first arrived at Cornell, I got to know many grad students outside of my home department, and they gave me some perspectives on what a grad student can become, and they taught me a lot about how to build and sustain a community.
One of our strengths as a community is our support for learning over 50 languages.
Arabic and French studies, improve my Japanese,
new Mandarin skills.
Since I'm not a native speaker of Spanish, I feel that the digital internship really helped me to improve my Spanish as well as my confidence in speaking in Spanish.
I recommend taking the less commonly taught languages because the teachers are more able to connect with you personally. I just think it's a really fun and really rare opportunity, and CEEP plays a major role in offering languages like that.
None of this would be possible without support. We offer many funding opportunities, including research funding, travel grants, language study grants, and internships.
Last year, I received a Hushi Fellowship in Chinese Studies from East Asian Program to support my fieldwork for my dissertation project in China. This award is not only a form of financial support, but also a very important recognition to the importance and significance of my dissertation project.
I applied for the Fulbright program, which I know is run through the Einaudi Center, and I was incredibly amazed to see the level of support given to students. I think that that's something most universities don't get, is staff actually on hand with the express purpose of helping you win a scholarship like that. And I ended up winning the Fulbright.
I was recently selected as a Thomas R. Pickering Fellow. After graduation from Cornell, I'll pursue my master's degree and then join the State Department as a Foreign Service Officer.
Now I am an intern at the Permanent Mission of Malta to the United Nations, where I have been learning about international diplomacy, international law, and European studies at a much more global level.
And now I feel confident.
Independence. Even when I'm at a university that feels so large, I can find my community.
백지장도 맞으면 낫다.
Qui vivra verra.
It means essentially that a job is always easier when done together.
Which means he or she who lives shall see. And I really think that's what Einaudi is all about. The center prepares students to see the world beyond the immediate.
And I hope more students will take advantage of these communities that the Einaudi Center has helped foster.
We welcome you to join us at the Einaudi Center for International Studies and enter into a world of knowledge for a world of good.
Thank you. And then the last slide, we have some contact information. So we have our website, our events URL link as well, our social media handles, as well as our program's email address. Any questions about the Einaudi Center? What are some takeaways? Where are you going to be on August 31st? Eurus Hall Terrace. Thank you so much for your attention. Welcome, and I wish you the best of luck in your first year.
Rick, thank you so much for all that great information. Do please take advantage, everyone, and I will look forward to seeing you at the International Fair on August 31st at Uris Hall Terrace. So give me 1 second. Let me check my slides really fast, make sure we are on track, and we are. So for our next session, we are going to hear from Jess Perlis, who is the Interim Executive Director at Cornell Career Services. Jess, thanks so much for being with us. Come on up. And a normal distance.
Perfect. Hi, everybody. Can you hear me okay? All right, great. I am Jess Perlis from Cornell Career Services. I'm the Interim Executive Director. It's maybe a little bit daunting to start thinking about career stuff. You just got here, you got to get used to, being in Ithaca. Why am I making you think about the future so soon? But we love meeting with students as soon as possible, just answering your questions, getting you settled. We have a lot of resources. It can be a little bit to navigate through. So I want to talk to you about what we do and how we can help you on your individual journeys. So first up, we like to bust some myths about what our office is, what we do. So it's okay if you don't know what you want to do, or if you change your mind once, twice, more than that. It's never too early to visit us. Many people have already started visiting us before they've officially enrolled. Classes don't even start for a week or two. So we're really happy to meet with you. Our specialty is individualized assistance, meaning meeting with an advisor and talking about your situation. In career services, we really try to talk about experiential learning. So that means experiences, whether it's research or internships or clubs or classes, shadowing, networking, just trying stuff out. Networking is really key, really pivotal. We'll talk quite a bit about that later today. And it's going to help build community as well. And many employers, most employers, they're seeking skills, not always specific majors. So it becomes really important that you're able to articulate all these skills that they're looking for, which we'll talk about a little bit later. But this is the career development cycle that we use at Cornell Career Services. It's a circle on purpose because sometimes we change our mind. In the blue stage, we help you understand yourself. What am I good at? What am I interested in? What do I like to do? What do I want to learn more about? What are my short-term, long-term goals? How does kind of my life planning fit in with my career and academic planning? Then we have the explore options phase. What's even out there? What are some activities I can do? How many clubs should I join? How do I get involved? Internships, job opportunities. And then we also help with the red phase, the take action phase. This is usually what people think of when they hear career services. It's, oh, they're the ones that'll do a practice interview with you. We do a lot more than that, but we do cover letter assistance, resume reviews, helping you build your LinkedIn profile, practice interviews, things like that. So we help with a whole lot of stuff. So it makes sense that you might come to us multiple times based on where you are in your exploration and discovery stage. So first, I'll tell you more about what we do to help you understand yourself. We do career counseling. So we have some specialists in different topic areas, government, sustainability, public service careers, pre-law advising, fellowships advising, a lot of different areas if you want someone with a specialty. And then generalists who can help you kind of explore any area. We do a lot of workshops and information sessions to help you figure yourself out. We can do general, how do I explore my major? What can I do with my major? How do I find out where Cornell students have gone in the past? We have planned about 75 events this fall. So almost every day of the week, you can find a career-related event that might speak to you or be relevant or interesting. And we do career assessments. What that means is inventory, series of questions to help you better identify your strengths, your interests, potential career matches. Gives you more language and vocabulary when you're going on interviews and have to talk about yourself. That can be really nerve-wracking. So that all of this is free. Like, I forget to say that a lot, sorry. It's all free. And I mentioned a minute ago, we've got our skills that we want you to be able to articulate. So according to the National Association of Colleges and Employers, NACE. There are 8 skills employers are looking for no matter what. This is US based, but I'd venture a guess that international companies are also interested in these skills as well. But we help you specifically articulate how you're building your communication skills, verbal, written. What about critical thinking? You know you're doing critical thinking, but sometimes if you're asked that question in an interview, you kind of blank. Oh no, I've never solved a problem in my life. So helping you practice and think, here are 15 different ways I've used critical thinking skills in my classes, in my work, etc. Equity and inclusion, being able to speak about that, especially if that's not something that you have a lot of experience in. Employers are asking about that now. So how can we be articulating our skills and our understanding there? Leadership, and again, this doesn't have to mean I'm like the leader of the 5 clubs or something like that. It's how do I show up in a space and lead? Do I lead by doing? Am I a role model for other people in my same level or something, or for newer undergraduates or something like that? Professionalism, teamwork, technology. I won't tell you about all of them, but we do a workshop all about career readiness skills. So again, just start be thinking, even from day one, you can, oh, I have a little bit of that. I have some of that too. Exploring options. So again, we do individualized appointments. We can talk to you about what you're interested in, your options. Sometimes we do referrals, right? Maybe you have to go talk to the Einaudi Center based on where your interests are leading you. Again, more workshops and info sessions. We have a ton of resources. I'll go through those in a bit. Internships, and I can't see my slide. Internships and resources and networking. So these are really the key ways that people explore those areas. And then in the take action phase, individual appointments, all those kind of documents you have to create to prepare yourself. Interview practice, there's different kinds of interviews: behavioral interview, case interview, stress interview, online pre-recorded interviews. So we might help you navigate one. Even if you're familiar with one type, you might be faced with a new type. And connecting you to employers. So we have relationships with thousands of employers. They come, they try to recruit Cornell students. So we do a lot of info sessions, career fairs, etc., where you can connect directly with people seeking Cornell students. Other things you should know about that are cool in career services. We have something called the Profile Picture Kiosk. It's located in 103 Barnes Hall. Barnes Hall is on Hope Plaza near the tower. Everybody knows where the tower is, right? So very close to there. Barnes Hall is where Central Career Services, my office. So it's free. You can sign up for a 20-minute session. Oh, we only have one background now. Sorry about that. But there's a little Bluetooth, take as many photos as you need, email them to yourself. You can upload them to your profiles. And we had a professional photographer come in, set up the lighting, set up the, every angle. So it's a pretty good deal. So again, if you're thinking about, oh, I've got a network, I don't have a LinkedIn yet, we try to have a lot of ways where we can assist you with all parts of that process. We have a couple resources specific to international students. So we have a international career advisor specialist. We are in interviews right now. We hope that they're joining next month in September. But you will be able to book with them, career.cornell.edu/schedule. And they're pretty good at talking you through some of the complications about CPT, OPT, H-1B visa, things like that. Whether or not you want to stay in the US, you want to go back to your home country, you want to go to a third country, we've kind of heard it all, but we'll talk you through kind of some of the steps that you might need to be taking there. We have other online resources, a tool called Going Global. It has an H-1B database in there, so you can see which companies have sponsored international students for which roles in the recent past. There's a similar tool called USA Careers. We have kind of a 10-page resource on tips for international students in Canvas, which I'll tell you about. We have a series of modules in there. And we also have a section of the website, if you go to audiences and for students, international students, we have additional resources listed there as well. And I mentioned workshops. We have workshops specifically for international students, things like working in the US, decoding job descriptions, what are they really asking for, culture in the workplace. So keep an eye out for those if those are of interest. to you. I'm going to tell you about a couple online tools. Get your phones ready. There's a lot of QR codes coming at you, but they're really, really good resources. First is just our website. I mentioned it a lot, but we have a lot of resources there. It's all the URLs are covered up by the captions, sorry, but career.cornell.edu. There's a lot of information there, but also our events on the bottom. So that's handy. You want to go straight there. We have something called the Career Development Toolkit. This is on Canvas. Have any of you had to log into Canvas yet or used it before? All right, good, most of you. So it's currently 25 modules, a little under 300 pages of resources that we specifically custom designed for Cornell students. This is where that international module is. We're constantly updated. It's way more information than the website that I just showed you. We have built-in games there to try to make it a little bit more fun, like common workplace terms that you might be unfamiliar with or something like that. So we're constantly building and evolving this one. So the toolkit is kind of our #1 resource. If you haven't already gotten an invitation to it, we send an invitation to all undergrads, but if you're a grad student, you might not have. You can join, it's free. And you can remain in it as an alum. So even after you graduate, if you're switching gears or you're deciding, oh, I'm going to go back to grad school, it's as long as your NetID is active, you keep using the toolkit. We have a media library, meaning that when we do those workshops, especially the Zoom ones, we record them, caption them, and put them in our library. So again, if you missed decoding job descriptions because you had a competing event, you can go and check it out, watch it, get that same information. That's all publicly available too. You can search by category too, if you're looking for the pre-health ones or a tour of the Canvas site, something like that. We have at least 50 videos in there that we've done over the last 2 years. Still with me? Okay, Cornell Handshake. This is your online place to get connected with employers looking for Cornell students. So there are jobs on Handshake. We approve, let's see. We approve a couple hundred new jobs a day, 6,000 to 10,000 new jobs and internships a month. An employer has to be approved to recruit at Cornell, and then each job post we review. There are a lot of scams going around, and phishing scams. So if you get emails that sound too good to be true, like you've been selected to be in my research group, don't do that. In the Cornell Handshake, we read and we don't accept the ones that are obviously scams and things like that. So it's kind of pre-filtered for you. You can have a little bit more confidence there. We also have resources if you fall for a scam. We have some tips for how to like freeze your credit and stuff like that. It's really unfortunate that that happens. But Handshake has jobs and internships. You can filter by accept, CPT, OPT. It has events. So there's career fairs coming up. We have STEM Day is September 14th. Right, All Industries Career Fair Day is September 15th. So these are very soon, right? So that's a bummer, but also cool because now you know about it. So these career fairs are entirely conducted within Handshake. So you can see which employers are coming, filter by, except CPT, for example. You can sign up for a specific time slot and talk with, only the people that you might be interested in or be able to discover. Even if you're a first year, it's okay to go. It's good practice networking or talking to an employer. The stakes are kind of lower if you, I don't need a job right away. I can still have other ways to look. So Handshake, you can also search for employers. You can favorite them. So, the second National Geographic adds a job on Handshake, you'll be notified. If they have any info sessions, you'll be notified. And again, you'll have one Handshake profile that'll continue growing with you over your time at Cornell. So you can upload your resumes, apply for things directly through Handshake. So very good. Newsletters, interview slots. Some of the employers recruit, do follow-up interviews, scheduling through Handshake. So that's another reason why you would want to be aware of Handshake. There's more. I told you there were a lot of tools. We have a lot of tools. It's great. The Cornell Outcomes Dashboard, career.cornell.edu/dashboard, QR code again here. This is a publicly visible dashboard. Any of you can use it. You can send it back to your parents or your families. You can filter by, you can see here, like years, degree levels, college, majors, in some cases, and you can see live, it'll react. So like where are students going? Where do people in my major go? There's a US map, but also below that, there's a list of international metropolitan cities. So you can get a sense of how many people from my major of astrophysics stay in the country or not, so you can really use it to inform your career choices. A lot of people use it to bust myths, especially as you start meeting other students and, oh, we're all going along this same path. We're all doing this same thing. But if you go to the dashboard, you'll see it morphs into so many different fields and options and people developing their own things. So we say, don't use it to make like a gigantic life choice. Come and talk to a career advisor before you like switch a major based on this. You can also see salaries and things like that based on students who have graduated and willingly share the data of where they're going next. So this is a really cool tool to use as part of your exploration. CU eLinks, CU, Cornell University, eLinks, learning, informing, networking equals knowledge sharing. Kind of a mouthful, but just CU eLinks. So we kind of call it the LinkedIn just for Cornell, basically. So there's about 9,000 alumni. I think we're higher. I think we're at like 7,000 students by now. You can search for Cornell alums. You can send messages directly in the system. All the alumni that have joined are there because they want to hear from you. You can do this same thing on LinkedIn, sure, but who knows if you're ever going to hear a response. CU eLinks we manage. They remember what it was like to be in your shoes. You can search for someone from your home country. Hey, I really need help adjusting. I want to talk about like non-academic specific questions. They have a kind of a long profile and they can talk about being first gen and from this country and considering gender in the STEM fields or something like that. So really great tool again to reach out. There's also job shadowing resources in here. Alumni post when they have job shadows available. There's an app too. So CU eLinks is another really important one to like, you don't even have to like set up your account before school starts. You don't have to log in, but you're going to want it later. So if you have time now this week before like the bustle of classes start, set up your CU eLinks and your Handshake and your Canvas accounts. Because that's how we do all our advertising and messaging too. Okay, so this is my last slide. We are in Barnes Hall, like I said, at Cornell. There is Central Career Services, my office. We see current students, we see alumni. We're the ones that has the International Advisor Specialist. Each of your colleges also has their own career advisor or advisors. Many of the master's level programs have multiple specialists for that level of education. So you have a lot of places you can go. We can say it doesn't really matter if you know exactly what your question is. Make an appointment with somebody. We'll talk you through it. We'll get you set up with the next best person based on what your questions are. So we're open 8 to 4:30. We see people in person and online. You can call us, you can email us, you can follow us on Instagram. All right, that was a lot of information to take in. Does anyone have any questions? Okay. The main point, know that career services exist. Sign up for our digital tools. Come meet us when you're ready or like almost ready, and we'll guide you through whatever makes the most sense. Multiple appointments, normal. Got free coffee in our office. So if you just like want a cool little known study spot, it's good too. But thank you so much for your time, everybody. Hope to see you.
Jazz, thank you so much for that presentation, everyone. Again, here's just another resource that we really hope you take advantage of, and you'll continue to hear more about throughout the years that you're at Cornell. So one thing really quick, I recognize that you've been sitting for a while. Some of you, you've just been sitting for like 10, 20, 30 hours, probably on a plane. So we're gonna do something that I think I haven't been able to do in a long time to help you move around just a little bit before we go into the final sections. Do people know what the wave is? So, you know, I was gonna make the volunteers dance, but I avoided that one. So I at least need to help you get up and move around just a little bit. So if you don't know what the wave is, you'll realize pretty quickly what I'm gonna do is stand on one side and I'll just kind of point. And then starting from all the way on my left or your right, you're going to stand up and then kind of sit back down. It's gonna look like going across, then I'll run back and forth and we'll just do that a couple times. Or we could also make like fun noises while you do it too. Raise your hands if you'd like to make a funny noise when you stand up and wave. Yeah, that's great. Perfect. So everyone wants to make funny noises too. So we're going to do that. So, all right, we're going to try the first one. We're going to go slow. All right, people ready? Yeah, you know, make sure your cell phone's not in your lap because it's going to go flying. If you've been drinking water or eating pizza this whole time, hide it so you don't get in trouble. Everybody ready? Okay, real quick, practice what your funny noise is going to be. Okay, everyone at the same time, your funny noise. Ready? 1, 2, 3. That almost sounded like you were booing me. So I'll let you think of something more funny before we start. And do the noise that you want to do. You'll get warmed up. Okay, everybody, so we're gonna start slowly. All right, my people here on the right, you know, my left. You're ready? You ready? Come on. Yeah. All right, here we go. 1, 2, 3. Back again. Funny noise, come on, funny noise, come on. Back over here again. There we go, there we go, there we go. Back again, back again, back again, back again. There we go. All right. Thank you, everybody. Clap for me, clap for me. All right, all right, all right, all right. Everyone okay after that? Everyone's feeling okay? No one got lightheaded? I know you've been sitting on a plane for a long time and you're okay. Great. Thanks, everybody. Appreciate that. So give me 1 second. I'm just going to jump through some slides really quickly, going back in time. Perfect. Okay. So I am very excited to announce our next speaker, Gustavo Flores Macias, who is Associate Vice Provost of International Affairs and Associate Professor of Government and Public Policy here at Cornell. And Gustavo will be with us to talk about academic integrity, Cornell academic values. Please pay close attention, really important information. Gustavo, come on up. Yeah, try it out real quick. Make sure.
Good morning. Does this work okay? All right. Thank you. All right, thank you. It's great to see you all. It's a pleasure to be here with you today. And what I'll say is not as fun as funny noises in the wave, but I think it's just as important as most of the content that you've covered throughout the morning. And I want to do 2 things with you. I'd like to go over first some of the main academic principles that I would say permeate everything that Cornell does. And the second point I'd like to go over is a little bit the glue that underlies these principles. And it has to do with academic integrity. So I'd like to go over these 2 things, Cornell's core values and go over academic integrity. And, you know, I think it's good these values you will encounter explicitly and implicitly throughout your time at Cornell. Sometimes you will encounter them very explicitly, and other times, that'll be sort of in the background. But it's good for everybody to be on the same page. And then when you come across them, you will recognize them. And sometimes, I think these values are helpful also in times of doubt, right? I think there's a belief out there. I don't know, let's take COVID as an example, as a recent example. And, people will often say, well, in order to know what to do with COVID and to know what governments should do, what everybody should do, just follow the science. Well, follow the science. I mean, it turns out that it's not as simple as following the science. Often that science is complicated, it's murky, it can point in different directions. And often we need these principles to guide how we look at the science, how we generate knowledge, and regardless of the field, right, whether we're in the humanities or the hard sciences or the social sciences, these principles will always be helpful in finding in guiding us and making difficult choices at times. So let me introduce these principles. There are 6 core principles, and you can find these on Cornell's website. They're not hard to find. Just you can Google Cornell core values and you'll find them. The first one has to do with purposeful discovery. The second is free and open inquiry and expression. The third is a community of belonging. Fourth, exploration across boundaries. Fifth, changing lives through public engagement. And the 6th one has to do with respect for the natural environment. And I'm sure some of these may seem straightforward to you, or maybe most of them or all of them. But let me take one example. Perhaps the second one, free and open inquiry and expression. And this is a pretty important value or principle for a university, but it's not always straightforward, right? But I think, it's safe to say that for the main goal of a university in terms of generating knowledge and putting this knowledge to good use for society, we have to be able to express ourselves freely. We have to be able to generate freely, and we have to be able to exchange ideas freely. This is something that is not always easy to do. Sometimes the exchange of ideas can be complicated, especially with people who disagree with us or don't share the same ideas. Sometimes they won't even share the same values. But it's important to always be open to the exchange, maintaining the exchange civil, of course, but open to the exchange. So this is just one example of a principle that, may seem straightforward, is not always easy to follow, to uphold, but that we should always keep in mind. And I think the same is true for the rest, right? Let's take changing lives through public engagement. Public engagement can take many different forms depending on our field, depending on what we do, whether we're in the performing arts or we're in let's say, genetics or economics or government. It really depends on what we do, what this public engagement, what form it takes. But we should always keep in mind that at the end of the day, we're part of something bigger, and that we should be working toward improving that bigger pie, right? Whether it's a community here in Ithaca more generally, whether it's our community in the United States, whether it's a community around the world globally. So all of these values, I mentioned that there was some glue behind it. And I want to think of academic integrity as an important glue behind these values, as something that really kind of brings these values to life and helps us uphold these values. And academic integrity, I would say, is just as important as the values. It's something that maybe we all come into Cornell with a different understanding of academic integrity. And it's important that we have at least a common baseline, so that when we are here at Cornell, we know what to expect when it comes to the standards and what the expectations that people will have on us. And, here I took this quote from Cornell's Code of Academic Integrity. It says the values most essential to an academic community, which is what we are here, are grounded on the concept of honesty with respect to the intellectual efforts of oneself and others. So it comes down to honesty. And again, honesty is one of those things that we can say, yeah, I completely understand what honesty means. But sometimes in practice, it can be a bit more complicated. So what does this really mean? Another way to think about it is to think of academic integrity as fairness to oneself and to others. And a very concrete example of academic integrity, often, we are in a university environment, we're generating knowledge. A lot of times this knowledge takes the form of ideas. It can be maybe, an idea for a good code that I came up with for, computer science, or an idea for a play, or an idea for a poem, or an idea for a formal model, you name it, depending on your field. But the idea is that taking these thoughts, taking these ideas from someone else can be thought of as stealing. That's one example of a violation of academic integrity. It's not the only one, but it's a common one. And it's one that maybe I'd like to touch on for a second, because it's one that you might encounter along the way, or you might see others incurring in this, or you might think about, well, what if I do this? Would this be a violation? So worth pausing for a second here. A few examples, right? If we don't give proper credit to someone who came up with an idea, and giving proper credit, there are many ways to do this. We could paraphrase, for example, we can say, well, according to so-and-so, and then we give a general sense of what this person said, or we can do a direct quote the way I did in the previous slide. But other forms, often you'll face situations in class in which you'll be perhaps asked to work in teams. And other times you'll be asked to work individually. If you work in teams when you're asked to work individually, that can also be a violation of academic integrity. Or copying a problem set, or perhaps even copying and pasting from a source online and making it come across as your own work. Unduly relying on technology during exams. Producing or selling course material, which, there has been sort of this proliferation of websites that will post syllabi and problem sets and even class notes that sometimes individuals will sell. So individuals that did not generate the content will sell and will reproduce online. These are some examples that you will encounter, or that you might encounter, and that it's important just to recognize as potential violations of academic integrity. The first example I gave, the one about improper crediting of ideas, is perhaps the most common. And in written work, and again, I know this is really field dependent. You may have to write a lot more in some disciplines than others. But often when we're writing, the easiest thing to do is to acknowledge credit in some form. So again, we can paraphrase, we can do a direct quote, we can use phrases like, I agree with so-and-so, or as so-and-so has argued, or according to some critics, and then you provide a citation as to which critics you mean. You can include a footnote, right? And you can paraphrase, and then in a footnote you clarify. You can say this explanation is a close paraphrase of so-and-so's work, or I have used examples discussed by so-and-so. The main steps in my discussion were suggested by so-and-so's treatment of the problem, or although the examples are my own, the categories are derived from so-and-so. So these are just a few examples. As you can see, this seems fairly straightforward, but in the heat of the moment, it can be not as straightforward. And as I've had I'll call it the opportunity to serve on the Academic Integrity Board for the College of Arts and Sciences. And, I think a constant thread in many of the cases that come to the board for violations of academic integrity are related to pressure, time management, right, or inability to have a good management of time in the face of pressure. So right now, before classes start, all of these sound fairly straightforward. And hopefully you're thinking, well, I'm very familiar with these techniques and I routinely engage in acknowledging credit. And I think that's great. And hopefully it's something that we can continue even during stressful times, and they will come. So it's important to become very familiar with these techniques and get to practice them so that they become instinctive, fairly natural, even in times of stress. Now, a few things to note about academic integrity. This code, Cornell's Code of Academic Integrity, applies to all of us the second that we get here. It's not something that we say, well, I haven't signed that contract yet, or this only applies really strictly inside the classroom. Well, this is something that applies to everyone upon arrival, and is not only during class time or not only strictly during coursework. Let me say a word about the process when there's a violation of academic integrity. Whenever someone is found to have violated the Code of Academic Integrity, what will happen is that there will be a first hearing. And this is a hearing typically with the instructor, in which the instructor will sort of bring the charge to the student and say, I believe that this is a violation. And then the student will have an opportunity to say, well, yes, indeed this happened and this is why that happened, or challenge the charge of academic integrity. And if that's the case, then it goes before a board. And typically each college has its own board, and there's representation of faculty and students on the board. Now, when this happens, a student cannot drop the course anymore, right? So it's not something that you can say, well, I'll drop the course, I'll forget about it. Grades are typically affected when a student has been found in violation of academic integrity, but there can also be non-grade disciplinary action as well, right? Sort of beyond the grade. Needless to say, this is a process you do not want to find yourselves in. It's a very serious process. It takes an intense emotional toll on everyone, certainly the student, but even those around the student, family, friends, the instructor, everybody. And it can have significant consequences for one's career, right? I have seen, I'm not going to say that this is the norm, but I have seen cases in which the student is asked to leave Cornell. I've seen a senior about to graduate asked to leave Cornell. So, it can have significant consequences for one's career. So a few tips. And again, this is not to scare you. This is just so that you can come in knowing exactly what the expectations are, and for you to become familiar with some helpful techniques. And it's in a way an opportunity to take a look at this Code of Academic Integrity and say, these are the things that are clear to me. These are things that maybe are not as clear to me. And those that are not, it's perfectly fine to ask. And in fact, we strongly encourage you to ask and to consult and say, when it's not clear whether the assignment should be done in person or as a team, just ask and seek clarification from the instructor or from the TA. That's one example, right? But asking is fine. And one amazing thing about being a student at Cornell is that it's perfectly fine to not know something. It's perfectly fine to ask. It's perfectly fine to ask before you engage in something that might get you in trouble, right? Now, become familiar with these citation practices, right? If you're not quite sure how to attribute ideas, and different fields have different conventions, so just ask. Maybe I'm familiar with how to cite in an essay for, let's say, government or sociology, but I'm not as familiar with how to cite something in computer science or in let's say, a course on textiles and fashion. How would I attribute ideas, or how would I cite in those cases? So it's important to become familiar from the beginning. And as I said, time management here is really key. time management is so important. So many times it's because students are falling behind. And when we're falling behind, we should also ask for help. We should ask for help. Sometimes we need help managing time. Sometimes we need help with the course material. It's perfectly fine to ask. I think it's also important to recognize that there is growth in failing, right? Growth in failing. And that is this intellectual growth from struggling through problems. So the easiest thing, let's say I have a problem set for physics or for econ, the easiest thing might be, well, I'm gonna ask my buddy for help. I couldn't really work through these problems. I didn't have the time. I'm just going to copy them and next time I'll get to it. But there's, that's certainly risky and brings no value to our learning. If we struggle through the problems and we just grapple with them, maybe we get them wrong, but that will be a lot more beneficial from our sort of intellectual journey and our own growth. And it's important then to ask for help and go to office hours. So keep this big picture in mind rather than an individual assignment, right? If you don't do so well in one individual assignment because you didn't have time, because you maybe didn't quite understand the assignment and you didn't have time to go over this with a TA or the instructor, it's perfectly fine. Think about the big picture before trying to just get a good grade in this assignment by incurring in a violation of academic integrity. So I brought here some resources. I know it's hard to use them from this slide, but this is a slide that is available to you, or will be available to you online, and you can come to it and use these resources. I found them fairly helpful, especially this tool that is recognizing and avoiding plagiarism. That is a tutorial. It's interactive and you can use it. If you're interested in different citation styles, here's a resource for you. And just very generally, the guidelines for students when it comes to academic integrity, which is a website that I also encourage you to become familiar with. So I'll stop here. I want to leave you with just, if there's one thing you remember out of this brief presentation, it is that when in doubt, just ask. Asking will help not get into trouble. And you'll be so grateful that you asked before. And I think your TAs, your instructors, everybody is very happy to answer questions when you ask. Not so much after the fact when someone gets in trouble. So I'll stop here. Again, I think this is such an important part of our experience throughout. I am pretty sure most of you are familiar, but when we're coming from different backgrounds, there are different conventions, and it's important to have a baseline as to what to expect. Brandon, we have a minute or two for questions. Yeah. Any questions about this? I'm sure that this was really brief, really fast. I'm hoping that you get some time at home later, maybe when things get a little bit, with the start of the semester, that you get a chance to read these materials. But for now, are there any thoughts, any questions, anything you'd like to share? Yes. Yeah, absolutely. That's a wonderful question. Is there any way or any person we can book an appointment with to clarify or go over any of this? I would say yes. So you have different resources. Depending, there are resources that are discipline specific, and the very first line of attack could be your own TA, your own instructor. So certainly feel free to do that. But if you maybe don't, for whatever reason, don't think that you want to do that, you don't feel comfortable doing that, or you just in the abstract want to know more, the Office of Global Learning, we're always happy to go over this. So get in touch with myself or get in touch with Brandon, and we're always happy to meet with you and answer any questions. And I think this is, again, such an important part, and it's so crucial to having wonderful Cornell experience that we want to make sure that this is something that is not in your way at all. Yes. Yeah. So question is, if we see a violation of academic integrity maybe happening, coming from outside of Cornell, let's say, whether there's a way that we can report this. Yes, I'll give you an example. I have a colleague, this is a violation that didn't really have to do with Cornell. I have a colleague who wrote a book, and then I came across this book for free in the internet. You could just download the PDF for free. And this was, a violation of copyright. So I first reached out to this friend, this colleague, and I alerted him to the fact that this book was there. So what this person did was got in touch with the legal counsel at his university to pursue sort of legal action. So that's one example. But in your case, if you come across anything that you say, well, this isn't exactly, it's not by an individual that is affiliated with Cornell, can I still bring it to someone's attention? I would say yes. And depending on the case, it might be easier to touch base with your instructor first, sometimes the chair of that department, or there's typically a coordinator for undergraduate studies, a coordinator for graduate studies. So depending on the situation you're in, it might be worth checking in with them. But like I said, think of us as always a resource when you're not quite sure whom to get in touch with. Please do get in touch with the Office of Global Learning, and we're very happy to help. Yes. Yes, absolutely. And there's a reason, I think, why these are first year sort of freshman writing, right? That it's an intro to this exposure when you're first arriving to some norms and practices that you will develop throughout. So I would recommend, yeah, when you first arrive, if it's part of your curriculum or an option, certainly pursue or enroll in these courses. And that's a great way, with the help of the instructor, to become very familiar with these practices and some techniques and some tips. So, depending on your field, these courses might look somewhat differently, or they might look somewhat different, but it's something that I think will bring some tools that you will use for the rest of your life. So it's a good idea for sure. If we don't have any more questions, I want to thank you for your time. Again, please feel free to get in touch at any point. And welcome to Cornell. I am so excited for you. I think it'll be a wonderful time. You'll have a wonderful time here. And if there's anything we can do to help, please do get in touch. I'll turn it back to Brandon. Thanks again.
Thank you so much, Gustavo, who's been an advocate for all of you for years now, working under Wendy Wolford, who you met earlier, and yeah, Gustavo, myself, others from the office, doing everything that we can to support undergraduate, graduate professional, international students. So thank you very much. So speaking of supporting international students, we are now down to our last presentation. One thing that I forgot to mention earlier was that all of the slides that you've been seeing can be found in the Google Drive that Prepare or Lauren has been sending or sent the link to. So under August 14th is where you can find all of the slides. We are recording this whole presentation. So that means once that recording is ready, we'll post that either publicly or on that link so that you can go back and watch the presentations if you had any questions or things to follow up on, or accessing some of the links that have been shown from the different presentations. So I'm going to move my slides again quickly. And I would like to introduce international Students Union. So if Megan, Tatiana, Pedro, if you could come on up. Oh, okay. Do you guys want to use this one? So, okay. Go ahead and try it out. Make sure it's a second.
Hello. Okay, this works. Okay. Hi. So we're the International Students Union. And I guess to start it off, we'll just reintroduce ourselves. So hi, I'm Megan. I'm from the Philippines, but I grew up in Singapore studying human development. I joined ISU in fall of 2020, but I'm currently the president of ISU.
Everyone, I'm Tatiana. I am from Malaysia, and I joined last fall because the president last year convinced me during this orientation to join.
Hello, everyone. My name is Pedro. I'm an upcoming sophomore. I'm studying chemical engineering, and in ISU, I'm in the finance sub-team.
All right, so what is ISU? ISU is an umbrella organization that represents the international students on campus. So there are 10% of the undergraduates in Cornell are international students, and we exist to really support and I guess advocate for all of those who are international. Who are we? Currently, we are 53 undergraduates, 1 graduate member, and like as in terms of like active like members, but we represent 40 nations in around the world. And obviously every recruitment cycle, we hope to increase this number and really represent even more countries, especially like countries that we don't have already existing or members who don't represent those countries. So it's a great way to meet different people from different countries because it's just a really nice place to have a community, especially when you're so far away from home. And even though most communities bond over something similar, and we all seem really dissimilar, our similarity is being international. So we really bond over being different, if that makes sense. And how do we do this? We really do this by lots of programming, having lots of events that cater towards international students, advocating for international students to school admin, and also funding events that are related to international or cultural activities. So we have 5 functional teams or committees, and it's advocacy, planning, finance, publicity, and internal operations. So when you apply for International Students Union or ISU, you are essentially placed into one of your functional teams of choice, which we will explain later in the presentation. But over your time in ISU, you can switch teams, and there's a lot of cross team collaboration. So the first group that we're going to talk about is advocacy. So advocacy advocates for international students. And the way that we do this is we do lots of initiatives that are, I guess, relevant to international students, depending on what we think is the most pressing issue that we're all facing today. So for example, we've done Letters to Home, which is an initiative where people can write like letters or postcards that we send to families like all over the world. And recently we've also done Mint, or we do this every year, and I don't know if you guys have heard of it, but it's a mentorship program that pairs an international student with one of you guys or one of the new international students who just need more support. This year, we're really focusing on mental health for international students specifically, and we're hoping to basically do a survey every month to see where support is needed for all of us. So an example of one of the initiatives we've done is the International Student Survivor Guide, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, but this is basically a survival guide that lists any questions that you guys might have with regards to, I guess, traveling, how to apply for SSN, dorm stuff, careers, anything you can imagine. And that's all updated by students in ISU, especially on the advocacy team. So Pedro will now talk about others.
So continuing with the different ISU sub-teams, we're going to talk about finance first. So finance is responsible for funding different international clubs events in our Cornell campus that promote internationalism. So in order to do that, first, the finance sub-team hosts funding meetings where we talk with some of these groups. During such meetings, we talk and discuss how we can promote internationalism, and then we come to a conclusion whether or not we should fund such events. In ISU, we allocate a vast majority of our funds in funding such cultural events. We believe that through open discussion and dialogue, we can further promote internationalism in our Cornell community. So much so that we funded more than 50 cultural events in recent years, and we want to continue doing that in future years. Now we have the planning committee. So the planning committee is responsible for planning and organizing different events for ISU for the entire Cornell community. So normally in fall, we plan the fall fundraiser, and in spring we have events like the International Students Gala. We also have many other events such as the new student socials, which we'll talk about later on the presentation. We have art exhibits and many, many more. An example is the International Students Gala. That's ISU's most prominent event, as it is a night filled with international cuisine, cultural performances, and fun with friends. In ISU, we tend to collaborate with a lot of cultural clubs in Cornell, since we want to celebrate and promote these different cultures that we have in our community. Here we can see some pictures from the gala from last semester. So top left, we can actually see Shimta. Shimta is the only traditional Korean drumming group at Cornell, and they were one of the 10 performances we had at the gala. On the bottom left, we also have the cultural booth. Some of the associations that we had there were the Hong Kong Student Association, the Turkish Student Association, EESA, and many, many more. And finally, here we have this nice group picture of all the international students from ISU that attended the gala that night. Well, now we have publicity. Well, the aim of the sub-team is to provide publicity support to all of the sub-teams of ISU, as well as plan and organize publicity for the ISU recruitment. They also advertise all of our events and campaigns. Recently, they actually worked with the planning community to publicize the annual International Gala. We had our partner international club share the event. We organized the takeaway. We had Get Ready With Me that was held by Megan, and we shared relevant information about the event. Recently, publicity also worked with advocacy to share information about the Mint sponsorship program and the survival guide that you guys just saw. Publicity is active in our social media accounts, and we publicize all of our ISU events. We make visual campaigns, and all of our members are super creative. We're managing all the ISU websletter and all of our websites. So if you guys are interested, we'd love for you to join the team. Well, last but not least, we have internal operations. Internal ops is a fundamental part of ISU. It is essentially them that keeps the ISU's wheels moving smoothly. They create the sense of community, this unity that we have in ISU. And I can say that it's because of them that we can call this an ISU family. They manage all of the internal affairs of ISU, and they coordinate from recruitment to our socials. And they're essentially our glue that keeps everyone together.
Cool, thanks Petra for that. Yeah, so fall recruitment. I guess at ISU, we really value a diverse community. So we're not looking for any one specific background, experience, or perspective. We want as much to just hear from you guys, learn from you guys, and also grow together with anyone and everyone. We do, however, look for two specific qualities in our members and candidates, which are passion and commitment, as you can see. We look for individuals who have a genuine interest in the global community and in the international community at Cornell. People that are open to meeting and learning from new international individuals that come from different backgrounds. We also are looking for people who are going to be very committed to our club, because this is a high commitment club. We take on leadership, and a lot of our members show initiative by taking on projects, executing it to the best of their abilities, and also seeing out that impact on campus. So here's our fall recruitment timeline. A few points that you should be aware of on this timeline. The important thing is that the application deadline is on September 19th at 11:59 p.m. EST. Our info sessions like today during our prepare session, they're great places to meet older international students like ourselves, hear out their stories, and possibly get mentorship from ISU members. These are not mandatory, but highly recommended that you come and join us so that ISU members get to know you ahead of time before we start interviewing you. We also will be at Club Fest on Sunday, September 11th from 3 to 5 p.m. And we will have an event afterwards, so we welcome everyone to join us for that. And as you can see, we have round 1 and round 2 interviews on the 17th and also throughout to the 24th of September. While they're not really something you should be worrying about right now, we'll actually figure that out later after the applications are submitted. Another important event that's coming up, we have our Global Social. Oh, I guess I can just say it then. Okay. So we have our Global Social, our annual Global Social on Saturday, September 3rd from 5 to 8 p.m. in the Big Red Barn. Basically, the Global Social is an event where incoming new international students like yourselves can come for free food and games and to meet other international students as well as the ISU members. It's a really great time to reconnect with your peers, hear from Prepare, and also to meet your fellow international students. So for recruitment information, so if you're looking for our survival guide, it's also on the QR code here. And also for more recruitment info, please scan that. We really look forward to meeting you guys, and I'm looking forward to reading your applications. And if you have any questions, feel free to contact myself or my co-VP, Ian, with our emails on the board. And also please make sure to follow us on Facebook and Instagram because we post a lot of useful information for international students and also just some fun content for you guys. Yeah, thanks.